Good afternoon and welcome to A Proper Lunch. I'm Stephen Gordon-Wilson and he over there is Paul Thornton Kitchen. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, all right.
Good.
Loving it.
Good
Enjoying a
week.
glimpse of half decent weather today. So, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. You and I don't live very far away from one another.
No.
We're a spit and a cough down the road, but it's horrible out here. And we did this yesterday. We were on
Yeah.
a call and you said, oh, it's beautifully sunshine. And I couldn't see through the rain coming outside my window. So we're obviously on some kind of ley line or something
Well,
mysterious
and
like
it
that.
did actually land on me. As you said that, it went dark, and then we finished our conversation and it went rah.
Yeah. And then the sun came out here.
Yeah.
We're obviously in that part of the world, aren't we? So welcome. Thank you for joining us on the Proper Marketing Facebook page. This is A Proper Lunch. Every week we get together for an hour and have a spot of lunch, because why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we?
And we invite you to come and join us as well. So if you've got lunch and you want to come and play, you can. I'm about to put the link in the comments. So all you need to do is click on the link. You'll then appear on my screen and I'll welcome you up onto the platform. All we ask is that you bring your chatting head and perhaps your lunch, should you want to eat with us. Alternatively, of course, you can just message us in the comments and we'll see you there as well.
Love that.
Love that. What have you got for your lunch today, PTK?
Well, I've gone for classic and timeless in my lunch today. It's, well, you'll recognise it, of course. It's a
Sausage roll.
Greggs sausage roll as well. It's a proper. It's what you'd expect, and still warm. Not
Is it a
wrong.
Greggs sausage one or is it a Greggs vegan sausage roll?
Do you know I've had the vegan one and I really liked it.
I didn't mind it either.
No, did
Not
you?
being a
Yeah.
vegan, of course, but I didn't mind
No,
it.
no, I thought it was all right. They'd only got vegan left, as opposed to I made a conscious choice. And I said, okay, then I'll give it a go. And it was actually brilliant, really nice. And do you know, a bit of a top tip, you and I both go to award ceremonies and end up on tables and end up having to choose from menus.
We do.
Choose the vegan or vegetarian option when you tick your form before you go.
Okay.
And then instead of the ubiquitous chicken in sick, I think we generally call it, don't we?
We do.
As opposed to that turning up, you get the most wonderful food turn up, which has got interesting spices, wonderful textures, fabulous tastes, just real flavors. So yeah, top tip from me: don't order the chicken when you go to a do.
Because you'll get chicken in sick. We know that, don't we? Well, I've moved this week. Regular viewers will know that normally I'm in front of my green screen over in the studio part of the house. Today I've decided to be in the dining room because why would you not? And because I'm in the dining room, I've gone for a dining experience rather than an
I can
eating.
see that. Have you gone for the full afternoon tea?
I've gone for full. Well, I haven't. I haven't. I have the afternoon tea set, but I still only wanted a cheese sandwich and a Scotch egg. So it's part afternoon tea. And in fact, this is where the peril comes in. I will be pouring my tea live. So this is where we work out. Hang on, let's see if I can do this without spilling. Aha, you see.
Proper cup of tea.
Proper cup of tea, because tea out of a teapot in a teacup tastes better.
It does.
With milk from a jug.
That's proper.
That's a proper cup of tea.
Yes.
In fact, that would be quite a good promotional gift, wouldn't it? A proper teacup. Maybe we should think about that.
Yes, we'll think about that. Yeah. Comment below if you'd like to receive a proper teacup and a proper
just let us
teapot.
know. We'll send you one. And do comment below if you want to join in with anything we're talking about, or if you think we're just talking nonsense and you want to tell us. So there is a Zoom link. If you click on it, you will appear on my screen saying that you are desirous of admission, and we'll let you on for a natter. So leftovers from last week, before we go any further. Number one was, can Stephen solve a Rubik's Cube? And have I learned to do it in the week since we were apart? Well, only time will tell, because I've got it here. And when we start nattering, I'll see if I can start doing it. There we go. I'll put it there so there's no skullduggery. And you can see I'm not going to switch it for a previously solved one. And the other one was, do we know Johnny Fulton's real name?
We do.
Now, I'm in a bit of a pickle here because I have indeed found out Johnny's real name.
No.
Yeah.
I was going to make one up, you see, and then
I've just
go around.
No, I found it out for real, but I don't feel, because he's not here to defend himself, I don't feel right disclosing.
No, I think you're right. With the cliffhanger, keep that knowledge.
Yeah.
I was going to say his name was Algernon Fulton. And we found out from speaking to his half Italian and half Portuguese parents, and just come up with a story because he's not here. And then just see how many times people say to him, didn't realise you had a Portuguese dad. And him go, what?
Hey, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I sent him a little text yesterday when I discovered his name. because there's a cartoon character with the same name. It's not Bart, but it could be. So I just sent him a picture of the cartoon character with a smiley face, and I don't know if he realised that meant I'd twigged or not. Who knows? He's probably watching now, and he'll know.
I'm going to guess then, based on that clue, that his real name is Snoopy.
No, you've solved it.
Donald,
I knew I'd given out too many clues.
Mickey, Minnie. I could go for hours. Yeah.
Don't.
Anna. That's what it is.
So everybody got a proper lunch. We delve into the news and find out what's going on. This week, Paul has been looking into Marketing Week. What with us being a marketing firm and all, we thought we'd do a bit of marketing. And I've been doing the broadsheets, but let's do marketing first. What have you discovered?
Okay. Well, this week, an interesting one. A chum of mine is a serial investor, a chap who pokes about in other people's businesses, pulls them all apart, and then squishes them back together again, does a jolly fine job. And indeed watches our webinars. So hello. And one of the things he's just invested in is hard seltzer. Now, I don't know if you've come across hard seltzer, either yourself, SGW, or our avid viewer, but hard seltzer is essentially fizzy water. So what do you call that? Carbonated water, with a fruit flavour and alcohol.
Ooh.
So all of a sudden it's like Alco-Pop, but it's called hard seltzer. Now, if what you find out is America's got hard seltzer and actually quite likes it. And there's 2, 5, 10, 20, 50 brands of it now knocking about in America. But we're kind of waking up to it. It's been on the shelves of places like Waitrose for a couple of years. But
they don't let me in Waitrose. I wouldn't have seen it.
No, good. Probably best. Or when you do go to Waitrose, you only go in the wine bit and the fish bit, which is fine. But hard seltzer, now I've tried some. I've never seen it before until my chum came round and said, "Here you go. Here's the 3 flavours that I'm jumping in with," and it's fabulous. It's really good. It's the nicer. So an Alco-Pop is dreadfully sweet, isn't it? And very yucky and very bubblegum. Pretty well all of them, in my opinion. I don't have the sweet tooth, so I'd probably be the wrong person to market at anyway. Plus, I'm in my late 20s, so they perhaps want someone a bit younger. But essentially these, and then you've got the harder drinks like, say, gin and tonic, which the tonic has got a particular flavour, hasn't it? That quinine kind of feeling in the back of your throat and on your tongue. Whereas this, the hard seltzers are fascinating, really good, because they've got the fizz. They're not as sharp as a tonic, and they're nowhere near as sweet or even saccharine sweet or that pretend sweetness that you get of the Alco-Pops. So it's a really, really nice drink and served freezing cold on a summer's day. Not that I've had a summer's day to try one on. It was raining when I tried one. But I see them as the ultimate sort of picnic basket go-to, because they really are a lovely thing. But anyway, Bud Light have now stormed in with their version. They've obviously seen the gap in the market. And essentially they're going for lifestyle branding. So it's going to be fun, it's going to be surfboard, it's going to be cool, it's going to be all those things. And there were some pictures on Marketing Week of their proposed branding and all those things. It looked really good. And so they're trying to adapt, I guess, their brand to be the next big thing, but at the same time be interesting, fun, blah, 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 so that they attract just the right person who's going to love hard seltzers. So do try a hard seltzer, SGW, and dear viewer, go out and try them and then let us know how you get on, and let's pass that research back, because my chum isn't working with Bud Light. It's another firm.
Oh, brilliant.
I don't even know if I'm allowed to say the name, so I won't. But next time we'll talk about it, and I'll have asked, and I'll have some here, and we'll try it.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, we can do a bit of live trialling on a proper lunch, can't we?
Yeah, really good. And particularly because it's alcohol in it, it's excellent.
Wouldn't it be great if somebody watching wants to trial with us? If you fancy trialing some hard seltzer with us live on a proper lunch, let us know, and we'll stick you a bottle in the post, and you can come on and sample live with us, can't we?
Yeah, we'll send you some, and we'll all have some together. Yeah, we would do that.
Great.
So that was the first thing. And then the second thing that caught my eye, amongst other things, I saw that Currys was consolidating all their brands. So they are Currys PC World, Dixon's, Carphone Warehouse, and a tech partner called Team Know-How. Never heard of Team Know-How.
Oh yeah, they kind of sit in the corner of PC World and charge you to go and run your computer up. I've seen that.
Oh, do they? Okay, well, they're the tech partner, so that would make sense, yeah. So they're pulling all that lot together and calling it curries. So, but what I didn't read, which is, so it's a bit of a non-story really. It was, what I didn't read was, are those other brands going to disappear? But it sounded like they are. I think you'll go, rather than go to the Carphone warehouse, you'll go to Currys for your phone, and it will be branded Currys phones, Currys tech, Currys tellies, Currys white goods, Currys. So, but yeah, essentially Currys is going to be the mothership. So that was interesting, and they're lovely colours, purples and whites and all those things. So that was interesting.
That's an interesting move, isn't it? Because we often talk about the difference between a house of brands and a branded house, and they seem to be jumping from one to the other, don't they? Where they were, Currys were, as you quite rightly say, a house of brands, and that everybody knows PC World and everybody knows Currys and all of those things.
Yeah.
Now it's just going to be completely Currys branded. There must have been some interesting brand research behind that. Maybe it's the strong brand, maybe the brand recognition's higher. Who knows?
Well, that's what they reckon. They're investing. They're going for brand equity and brand love and all those words, which is probably really good. You know, I've had a good experience of Currys because I've used one of their brilliant brands.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I do use them. We've just recently bought an outside fridge freezer, which it's a beer fridge, really. But I'm not going to tell you that because you would think I'm alcoholic.
Beer in the freezer part, you'll be in all kinds of trouble.
But of course, I went to Currys for it because they were the first on the search engines. They were the best price. They were exactly the one I needed. They'd got stock. They deliver. They take away the old one, and better than that, you pay them for all these things, of course. But you can pay for them to take away the packaging for the new one that turned up, because that's your next problem, isn't it? You've solved the fridge thing. They've taken the old one away, and you're left with this acre of cardboard and plastic and whatnot. They do that too.
But that's really interesting, isn't it? Because you said you found them on Google. I don't suppose many people have got a favoured electronics brand. It's not one of those things like a bakery where you go to the same place. You go to where's cheapest or where's easiest. So actually, in their example, going back to the piece about brand, it's really important that they get that branding right and that they are top of Google all the time. And I suppose they don't want to be jeopardising their own searches, do they, by having too many brands? They want you to search fridge freezer and see Currys. Yeah, I get that. I better do this while you're talking, because otherwise you'll think I can't do it. And I've
worked just nail that. That would be grand. I'll carry on, shall I? Yeah. So that was that. I was fascinated there, and then one of the things that we talk about quite a lot to our clients, and we talk about when we're nattering as well, is data.
Yes.
Martin Week this week was talking about the tools that you will need for bouncing back and coming out of lockdown and all those things. Tools that marketers, so career marketers, would need were resilience, the ability to shut up and listen, the ability to watch what's changed and help their clients react to that change, which is really, really good advice. But essentially, they were saying the weapon of choice now, because the Zoom genie isn't about to go back into its bottle anytime soon, is data. And that is, the data suggests people are loving being on their Zooms. They're loving being at home. They're loving being able to put the washing out, look after the dog, nip out and get the kids, pop to the chemists, but still do a blinding job. And what was the two phrases that have been bandied about at the moment were work is what we do, not where we go.
Very much so.
Which I quite liked. Yeah. And then it's what you put in your hours, not what hours you put in.
Totally.
Fabulous old sayings, and they're so true, aren't they? They're so true, and a whole breed of upper management and even middle management and managing directors and so on now trusting their staff to actually go home and do their job. Whereas it appeared trust was probably the biggest stopper of homework.
Yes.
In that everybody felt that you needed to be at work to do your job. And actually what most people have proved now, I'm sure, is that you actually don't. You just need to be good at your job to do your job, regardless of where you sit. So that's really good how we've changed. And so it comes back to data. That's just a data thing. But an example of that is first party data. This data, that data, big data gets a big mention in this stuff. And of course, we talk about big data a fair bit, don't we? An example of big data, which Steve and I spoke about very recently, was I'd been to a seminar, an in-person seminar. So this must have been 2 years ago.
Some time ago.
With Alibaba. And Alibaba are, you obviously you know Alibaba, but if you're watching and you've never heard of Alibaba, Alibaba is the portal for getting things out of China. So China had always been a maker of stuff. They understood production. They understood making 1 million pink plastic things. But the bit they couldn't get right was their route to market. And so 10, 15 years ago, I remember buying some plastic boxes from Alibaba, but you had to buy 1,000 of them or 15,000 of them or something. It was that, wasn't it? I think you'd mentioned you'd used them before as well, hadn't you, a long time?
Chris, back in my event days, I'd buy Christmas lights for shopping centres from there, and it would be fantastic. And you'd get huge coffin-sized boxes full of lights from China. But as you rightly say, you had to buy 10 miles of lights. You couldn't just buy enough to do the front of one shop.
Yeah. So that was their thing, wasn't it? If you wanted to buy a thing, you go to a shop. If you wanted to buy a bunch of things, you maybe go online. And then if you wanted to buy 1 million things, you'd go to Alibaba.
Yeah.
But of course, all that's changed in time, and they've become one of the biggest companies in the world. They turn over more than Amazon, which, when you think Amazon's one of the richest companies in the world, its richness is different to its turnover. Have a look at Alibaba and have a dig in about the figures, which, of course, when I went to this seminar, we had a decent bacon sandwich, a decent cup of coffee, and then the UK Alibaba crew came in and talked to us about their business model. And it was all about data. But an interesting twist in how the Chinese culture is so different to the Western version of the same thing. Alibaba is fulfillment, so it has warehouses like Amazon. It has trucks and drivers like Amazon. You can go onto their portal now and buy 1 or 100 or 1,000 of something like Amazon. And most of the stuff in their warehouse has been put there by people who actually made it. So you would make your 1 million pink widgets. You'd ring Alibaba up, say, I've got 1 million pink widgets sat here on a pallet. And they'd say, okay, we'll be around in the morning. They'd send their truck, they'd put them in a warehouse, they'd locate them. You'd write your advert on the portal. And then their system would do the back end bit, which is there's 1 million of them on the pallet. We've just sold 100,000 of them. So therefore, there's 900,000 of them left.
Yes.
And it would work that out. And then it would also work out that when there was only 15,000 left, it'd send you a note and say, do you want to make some more of those pink plastic things because we're running low? Then Amazon keeps 15% for their trouble and sends you the change. So it's great. You've got a fixed cost route to market, a wonderful, they know how to attract customers, don't they? So it's a really good place to be. So anyway, where the data comes into this, Alibaba noticed that online shopping was killing the mama and papa corner shops, of which there are hundreds of thousands all over China. Yeah. And communities rely on these shops because they do. I think at the time, this is 2 years ago, it'd be worth knowing the figures more up to date, but something like 60% of China was still unconnected by the internet. A massive figure, and you think, my goodness, you think how big China is, 60% of it isn't actually online. So certainly that demographic, if you like, that persona, is hoping to go to their mama and papa store. But of course, their money was being taken out of their communities by the likes of Alibaba, which has become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The culture over in China is the mobiles. Everybody's buying on their mobiles. I think it was 93, 95%, something like that, of their Alibaba sales, which is billions a day, goes through a mobile phone.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, isn't it mad?
Not unexpected, but extraordinary, really, when you think about it.
Yes. How's that going, by the way?
Nearly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you are. Yeah.
I would have done it by now, but I'm listening intently to your Alibaba story at the same time.
So what Alibaba did was this, and we know they did this because they showed us, and this was just a light bulb moment where you think, oh my goodness, what a difference between cultures. What Alibaba did was swoop in on, I think it was 70 to start with, 70 individual mama and papa stores, and said to the mama and papa stores who rely on that store for their income, their kids work there, their grandparents work there, their kids hopefully will work there. What we're going to do is this: we're going to empty your store of its things. We're going to put in new shelving, new flooring, air conditioning, new sign out the front, still called you, not called us. We'll do all that for you, and we'll supply all that because we can afford it. And actually, you probably can't or don't want to. Then we're going to put in new shelving, and we're going to still keep the character of the place. But actually, here's the thing: we're going to give you point of sale equipment again, all for free, so you can sell things, and we'll know that you've sold it. and we'll make sure that gets put back on the truck. And our truck's coming past you every day anyway, because we're everywhere always. So as soon as you've sold some stuff in a day, you'll know it's coming back in. We'll know what's selling because you'll have told us. But better than that, when we stock your shop for the first time and from now on, we'd hope that you'd buy a large percentage of what's in your shop from us, but we'll tell you what's selling in your postcode, your area effectively. So actually, if you've been selling Happy Shopper toothpaste for the last 3 or 4 years, and most people in your postcode are buying Colgate toothpaste, then actually we're going to supply you with Colgate toothpaste because we know that's what people want to buy. And of course, what changed then is all of a sudden, big data said these people in your area want to buy this, and it could be plastic kites, it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be food and drink and comestibles. It could be anything. You know, footballs was an incredibly. We sell so many footballs because we're so close to a stadium, or we're a very sporting area. Alibaba would give you that data. Better than that, give you the products and say, well, why don't you sell them? And so you would. So of course it would increase your footfall into your shop, which is lovely. It would increase your turnover because you're selling just the right things to just the right people in just the right area at just the right time. Alibaba would also, underneath the counters, put in storage units where they would want to drop off parcels to the people in your locale. So either we'll leave it outside your house with a chance it will get stolen, or we'll drop it to the mama and papa store, pop it in the thing, and then of course they've got to come into your shop and say, hello, I've come to pick my parcel up. Oh, and while I'm here. So of course the opportunist sale, the reintegration of the mama and papa store to the online becomes really good. Everybody gets to know that the mom and papa store is regenerated, and it's all done by this big beast who absolutely can afford it and can afford to give big data away in the form of they're still getting paid. They're not doing it for love, are they? But actually, what a nice way to go on, as opposed to maybe an Amazon or maybe a someone like that, a sort of like a fulfillment company saying, right, because we've got a warehouse full of things and we know what people buy because they do, we will open a shop. You will come to our shop either online or offline, and then as you walk in, you will buy whatever we think you'll buy. And of course, ultimately, if it works out that you buy a lot of deck chairs and we see that you do buy a lot of deck chairs, then we'll start making our own deck chairs, because that way we'll not only get the customer, we'll get the data, we'll get the route to market, we'll get the product, we'll get the profit, we'll get every single piece of the pie. China, so different. Alibaba, so different. So fair play, Alibaba.
What a great way of using the data as well, because as you say, there'll be plenty of big companies, Amazon for argument's sake, who've got all of that data and wouldn't dream of doing something like that. But we're in a world now where people's brand values are changing, and people want value. They want those good family values, and they want to be getting more than just a product, don't they? They want to know that their money's going to the right place. Yeah. Wow, they're going to do brilliantly. Do we think that's coming to the UK, that model, or is it?
Don't really know. I think that web seminar all that time ago, we was down in London. They'd got a London base. It looked like a brand new building with nobody in it apart from them. Right. There was probably only 20 people in a building that could hold 3,000.
Yeah.
So they literally looked like they just moved into a corner of this thing. It was their building. And they were going to do UK operation, but I think what they were trying to do was find partnerships and ways to solve problems. They're very much. I mean, these guys, the guys I saw were 4 brilliant presenters, and they were probably incredibly high up the tree in the Alibaba company, worth a fortune, beautifully dressed, very smart, in their late 20s, some of them in their early 20s. So really smart young men and women who completely got today's market, completely got what needed to change, and was so proud to tell you this story and show you how they roll. Quite mad. So yeah, I don't really know, but
there are 2 takeaways there, aren't there? Number one, look after your customers and understand what your customers and how the whole marketing environment has changed. And also be careful what you do with your data, and use your data for good rather than evil. And I should have a sales pitch, Klaxon, because I'm just going to ring it. If you need help with that, come and give us a chat, because we get that, don't we? We understand how to use data and how to make it work for you. So come and have a natter with us. It's always good, and we'll always bring lunch and tea. Or
You've done it.
I've done it. I subtly did it while you weren't paying attention. Look.
Oh, that's amazing.
That was my skill that I learned this week. Do you
Oh,
know what?
that's incredible. Well done.
Not that hard. So where do you and I go when we need to learn anything? YouTube. We don't worry about university. YouTube where we go. Unless we want to learn about marketing, then we go to the proper marketing hub. He said, recovering himself. But yeah, there you go. I learned that on YouTube this week. Hello, Matt is watching. Hello. How are you? Nice to see you. He said that you hit the nail on the head with the Western culture. Amazon, Tesco retain the data and use it for their own schemes like Clubcard, rather than AF Blakemore, who deal with Spar, who run the model but don't have the big data element. Tesco are another great example, aren't they, of people that quite cynically use data. And almost the stuff you get on your Clubcard sometimes is quite frightening. The way they use that data, but think of the great work they could be doing with it. Alibaba's a fantastic model. They should really follow it. Thanks for that, Matt.
Cheers, Matt.
Fancy joining us on screen for a natter? Click on the link. You'll be most welcome. Paul, I've got a question, and I think you'll know this. If you had to tell me in a sentence or two, what is a declarative fraction?
A declarative fraction?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't discuss that for legal reasons at the moment, but I may know by next week.
Okay. If you had to, we're going to take that as you don't know, but tell me what you think a declarative fraction might be.
A declarative fraction is a fraction which can't be changed. Therefore, it is set in stone. That is it.
Wonderful. And that, I can tell you, makes you very clever, according to the Times today, because you know that. The article on the front page of the Times today, absolutely love it. Bluffing is a sign of being clever. Now, there's one blue word in this article, but when I read it to you, you'll forgive me. Can you provide a convincing explanation of the concept known as a declarative fraction? If so, a study has shown that you're quite clever. The reason is because, not that you're more knowledgeable, but what what researchers call the ability to produce satisfying bullshit. Yeah. The research involves testing people's ability to define nonsense terms, found that the best bluffers were also the cleverest. And I think that's really interesting from a marketing perspective. Yeah. They did a survey and they put 200 students in a room together and asked them to define 10 terms, I think it was. 6 of them were real, and 4 of them, including neural acceptance and subjunctive scaling, were completely made up. But the cleverer students, the one that academically tested better, were the ones that could give really convincing answers to what those terms meant. It's fascinating. People like stories, says the results. Even if you're top of your field, being a pretty good bullshiner gives you that extra edge. And isn't that true? Isn't that true of marketing and actually in sales of general? We all need to believe in the product that we're selling, and ultimately you're a good marketer if you believe in your product. But if you can sell and you can add that bit of bullshine after the top of it, it's going to make all the difference. And apparently cleverer people are better at that and vice versa. Fascinating when I read that. And I thought, I'm not going to brief Paul on that. I'm just going to ask him what a declarative fraction is. And I guarantee he'll have an answer because he's quite a chap.
We could have another version of this for the edit where you ask me and I go, I've got a clue.
Yeah. No, because no one would believe it then when I read the article. They'd say far too clever not to know.
Too clever.
What else did I come up with? This is the story that's been doing the rounds, of course. The Friends reunion. Were you a Friends fan?
No.
Mm-hmm. I think it might be, perhaps it's generational, I don't know. It was kind of right in the middle of when I was growing up watching telly. It was the thing that everyone was watching. And again, now it's on Netflix. There's a whole new generation of people that love it. But they've reunited. And there's a picture of them all looking slightly older and slightly greyer.
Oh, look at that.
But they've all come together for a reunion special. And it's just, it's done the rounds. But it kind of sparked off the story about the art scene reopening. And the papers are all full of it at the moment. In fact, that same page about Friends has got a big strapline saying Les Mis opens today in the West End. But it comes fraught with issues, doesn't it? Because the front of all of the newspapers today are also saying that because of this Indian variant, we may now not be reopening on the 21st as we'd first thought. So is that going to have a big impact? I am going to get to a point in the end. The front of the Telegraph today has a piece about Wimbledon. Also a big strap about Les Mis reopening. But Wimbledon set for a last-minute ticket dash. Wimbledon is gearing up for a Glastonbury-style dash for tickets when up to 100,000 go on sale days before the tournament starts next month. So they've got confidence and they're going to be reopening. The Guardian has got a piece today on Glastonbury. Now, I've never been to Glastonbury, and it's on my bucket list. Have you been?
No.
No. And I will one day go, but probably not this year, because this year's Glastonbury is missing something quite important, in as much as they're allowed to have the festival, but there's no camping allowed. So basically, you can go for a day and you can sit in front of the pyramid stage, and then go home. And I kind of think that misses a trick slightly.
Yeah.
Which made me, so wrapping that all up into a big ball, it begs the question, when we're bouncing back and we're reopening, is there a merit in doing it as quickly as possible and perhaps not in full and offering half measures, or should we be waiting and reopening with a bang when we've got our full service? What say you?
Well, it's a very good question, and I do take their point. Your first reaction is, blimey, how hard can it be? You're just camping. But they're thinking showers, toilets, communal areas. How could you possibly keep those spaces clean and sanitized? And of course, that's never been the case, has it? I've never been to a mosh pit style concert. I've seen them on telly, and I know plenty of people who go, but I just haven't. But I would. But actually, I would want to go in a sanitized kind of way.
Yeah.
I'd want decent facilities and all those kind of things, which it appears aren't normally at these things, are they? It's a row of portaloos that are serviced at the end. So 2 or 3 days in, I can imagine they wouldn't be great fun to be around.
Not the most fragrant.
But no. In answer to your question, it's a good question. Do you open half-heartedly, or do you hang on and do it full tilt? I think half-heartedly is probably the one, because it will start the tills ringing. It'll put some money back in. It'll get you out for an hour rather than a week or a day. And I think, you know yourself, we've talked about it plenty of times, and with our clients too, the joy of just going out and just being out at the moment.
Oh, we've lost you, or have you lost me? One of us has gone.
Oh, I don't know. Hello? He's frozen.
Oh, we're back. Oh, it was me that froze. One of us had frozen. I didn't know who it was. It might have been me. Do carry on.
Yes, I'll carry on. Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, any out is a good out at the moment, because we've had so long inside, and even I've been very boyish about it and saying, "Oh goodness, I haven't had a bad time of it at all." We've all been reasonably well. We've all managed to keep our jobs and keep our businesses afloat. Thank you, government. And I mean, thank you, government. We couldn't have done it without. And actually, everyone I've known has been reasonably well and reasonably healthy, and even the people that had got the dreaded Rona have got over it with no, lasting effect. But the mental health side of it, I completely get. In that I think I've done okay, but really, once I've been out and I come back, oh, what a difference! Your mood lifts. The sun comes out. You're in the garden. Mood lifts. Wow.
Completely agree. And it's true of both sides of the coin, isn't it? So you go out, you feel better, and also, even if your shop's only open 20%, that's 20% more sales than you might have had to begin with. And I think it's a case of being brave right now, and we'd all love to do it perfectly, wouldn't we? We'd all love to reopen 100% capacity, go for it, let's be wonderful like we once were. But I think you just need to be a bit brave and a bit understanding that we're all in the same boat. I think that's advice to anybody that's looking to reopen their business at the moment, isn't it?
Yes.
Because we don't know what's going to happen as well, and there's a bit of doom and gloom in the papers. Shocking, I know. Have you run out of gin?
Well, no. Today, this is, you may be interested to know, is lychee, kiwi, and lime.
Heavens! And gin?
No gin.
No gin
at the moment.
No gin at present. So I kind of did a scamper around the business pages as well.
Oh yes.
And all of the papers had different bits, but it's kind of all, the front page of the Telegraph Business has all the stories that I wanted to talk about in one, really. First, the unlinked story is about Bitcoin. What do you know about Bitcoin?
Well, I know I've got a Bitcoin wallet, and I know I can buy bits of Bitcoin. So I can say, I'll have 300 quid on Bitcoin, please. And they'll go, yep, sure enough, you've got 300 quid in Bitcoin. Yeah. So Bitcoin's a big thing. It's worth 15 grand for one, 10 grand, 3 grand, 20 grand, whatever it is on the day. And you can buy as much of that as you want. And it's cryptocurrency, not linked to a bank. It's just worth something because we say it is. So it's collective. That's all I know, really. It's collective currency.
That's all I know. But the papers today are worried, in that the headline is that Bitcoin's roiled by trading turmoil after investors panic over Chinese crackdown. the real bit of that story is that yesterday Bitcoin fell 28% in value to below. It was $32,000. It fell below, and then it settled at 40,000. But the governor of the Bank of England has basically come out and said, if you're investing in Bitcoin, just get prepared to lose all your money because it's not backed. It's not really anything. And exactly as you've just said, it's worth something because people say it is. And eventually, are we just going to say it's worth nothing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it just going to burst? I've never dabbled in it myself. Have you? You've got a wallet? Have you got anything in it? I'm fascinated.
Yes, I've got a wallet, but well, I've answered that incorrectly. I have a wallet, but there is no cryptocurrency in it. No.
You have the facility.
Yes. So I can go to it with some money. It can be 20 quid if you like. And it's like anything. I don't know if I told you the story. I once wanted to be a gold merchant, and then I wanted to be a diamond dealer. So those stories. And so I went and put some money into gold, and then I went and put some money into diamonds. Nowhere near enough. But still in the, I think it was £10,000 of diamonds, say. And as soon as you've done it, you think, I don't know what I'm doing. One of the first rules of investing, you find out later on, is don't invest in stuff you don't know, because you really don't know. And it's really good advice. But yeah, so you get into these things, and all of a sudden a piece of gold is worth this much because you said it was, and you bought it. But then when you try and sell it next week, it's not worth that at all. It's worth a new figure, and that new figure could be higher or lower. And you think, oh, okay, right. So we've got to play the game. You've got to try and buy it at its lowest, and then try and sell it at its highest. And that becomes stockbroking, doesn't it? And that's how we make a profit, and then put that money into something else, and then you'll lose it. And then you put it into something else, and then you'll win, and so on. So, but what I did note was in the wallet app, which is by Bitcoin, it tells you about Bitcoin, and then it says the top 3, top 5, top 7 that are chasing Bitcoin around, so becoming more popular. More and more people are putting more money in. They are on the rise, they're on the fall, whatever they are, and it shows their value against each other. And you could make some really daft decisions about that. So what they let you do is put phantom money in. Right. So I think I can't remember the figures, but let's say it was £500,000 phantom money. So you put your phantom money in, and it says, okay, where do you want to send it? And you go, well, I've read the form. I used to go, what do you call those things? Greyhound racing.
Yes.
So obviously I've read
the going's good.
Yeah. And I've been horse racing. So how odd can it be? So I spread my £500,000 out. Yeah. And I think it took me about, honest to God, it took me about a week to burn the lot.
Really?
Because I saw something go down and thought, I know, I'll put 50 grand on that. But then it went down even more. My 50 turned into 9, turned into 3, turned into 1, and stayed there. So I'd lost 50 grand into 1 grand. And then I put something else on somewhere else, thinking I'll only put a little bit on, and it went down, and then it shot up, and then I couldn't afford to buy anymore because it was too dear. And so it really is a skill, that whole cryptocurrency thing. And of course, what you don't know is it's not actually worth anything.
No, and that's the thing that's fascinating, because when you're talking about diamonds and gold and the stock market, you go and buy 100,000 shares in Amazon, you know that they're going to be tracked to the. So take the Amazon example, you know that your shares are going to broadly track how successful the company is. So if you bought shares in Amazon before lockdown, odds on your shares are worth a lot more than you paid for them now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of basic stockbroking that I don't know much about stocks, but I know that. Same with gold. The price of gold is tracked by the Bank of England and is sort of linked to inflation and is sort of linked to real world things. Bitcoin, I can't get my head around because it's not linked to anything.
Well, only that it started off, in my understanding, to be the currency of blockchain. So blockchain became a part of our parlance 5 years ago, I guess, maybe slightly more.
Yeah.
Where it's decentralizing. Again, we talked in our webinar this week about decentralizing the marketing effort for big companies to have local marketing rather than big companies to have big company marketing only. So decentralize that, take it to a local level and engage, and they'd be much better to do that, we believe. And we'd be right, I think. And blockchain is this wonderful gadget that everyone can have one. So you'd have a blockchain, I'd have a blockchain. It's backed up by a million computers. There's no one central computer running this like Facebook. So you on your blockchain say, I'm Paul, I live here. I've got this much equity in my house. I've got this much money in Bitcoin, and you're welcome to see it. So you can see my one
Yeah.
Bitcoin is. And you can also see the things I've bought, the transactions I've done, the business I'm in. I can hide some of these things from you if I want, but it's a fabulously transparent thing. And if I'm telling a fib, the machine, the way it's worked out is that everyone's blockchain is linked to everyone's blockchain. So in order for it to be a real thing and show up, it needs verifying by other things. So if I've bought off you a bicycle for 10 quid, your blockchain will say, just sold a bicycle to Paul and he paid for it. Cheers. And that will go as a positive mark on my blockchain because I clearly had the 10 quid. I clearly now have the bicycle and you've verified that that happened. And so everything is verifiable. So whilst it's pretend money on a pretend chain, it's actually verifiable by the people inside it. So you couldn't say, oh, I just bought this car off Paul for 50 grand.
Yeah.
Because it would then ask me, did Stephen buy this car off you for 50 grand? I'll say no. All of a sudden it won't let it in. So it's not the truth. So it's a really truth-based, wonderful, open.
Well, and of course, it is. But then I could also say to you, let's go and blag the system. I'm going to say I bought a car for you for 50 grand, and you'll go, all right, chum, and you'll say yes, and then all of a sudden it's worth the chain is worth more than we said it is.
Yes, and that's the bit, because it can't just be one person. It has to be verified by many and loads and hundreds and thousands, and it's a very complicated thing. But the great thing about it, I thought, was they talk about decentralizing data. So at the moment, Facebook is a good example. You join Facebook with a free account, but for your free, there is no free, of course. You give away your right to privacy. So you can advertise to me, you can do what you like with my data within reason, and ultimately I will pay no money for that. And that's the agreement we have with Facebook. So then Facebook exploits that and goes to Kellogg's and says, right, why don't you try selling cereals to this lot? Because the bottom line is they've said you can, but it's 10 grand every time you type something. So Kellogg's go, yeah, sure, great, here's your 10 grand. So of course Facebook get richer and richer and richer and richer. We get nothing except advertised to, and sometimes that's a good thing. So let's start with that. I actually love personalized ads because I get served to me exactly what I'm about to buy. So why would you not? So I kind of get it. But what blockchain and all those other kind of blockchain type things are talking about doing now is decentralizing that. And rather than Kellogg's trying to sell cereals via Facebook to Paul, what they'll do is they'll sell Kellogg's to me in my blockchain, and they'll pay me to read their advert or watch their video or get involved in their scheme to try and sell me. So, and they'll be able to see on there that other people have tried to sell me something and paid me to look, and I've bought it. So therefore I'll create a bit of a rating, and I'll be not a sucker, but I'll be someone who clearly does buy these things. So actually, it's probably worth spending some money on me. So it could be that they could say to me, if I give you 25 quid, would you buy some Kellogg's cornflakes? And I think, why would I not? So I'll get 25 quid in cryptocurrency and then nip out with real cash and buy some cornflakes. And all I've said I'll do is write back to them and say, yes, I did, and they were lovely.
So from a marketing perspective, it's interesting, isn't it, to watch how Bitcoin and how blockchain is going to permeate our decisions more and more, and particularly on that data conversation, it all kind of ties in, doesn't it? It's fascinating. We could talk about it all day.
Yeah.
But we mustn't, because we'll drop followers, and we don't want to do such a thing. If you have just joined us, where on earth have you been? It's 1:45.
Yeah, you're late.
Of this week's proper lunch, which is a week where we get together, Paul and I, occasionally guests, but occasionally just Paul and I, and we talk about what's going on in the marketing world, what's going on in the newspapers, and various other things as well. So last week we set me a challenge of learning the Rubik's Cube, which I did. And we tried to find out Johnny Fulton, who is our tech partner's real name. And we've done that, but we can't tell you because he's not here. Johnny, come back next week and I'll need your permission to reveal, because I can't do it. GDPR.
Yeah.
As always, if you'd like to join in, you can chat with us in the comments. Hello to Matt, who was talking to us a bit earlier on about data. And we like Matt, don't we? He's a good egg. He does all kinds of good things around Milton Keynes. Matt, we'd love to have him as a guest.
And his latest thing, and I'm sure he won't mind me telling you, is that he's bringing the proms back to Milton Keynes in September. Do I mean September?
I think you do mean September. And what a wonderful event that used to be.
Brilliant.
When our dear old lamented Milton Keynes City Orchestra used to run the proms, sadly no longer with us. But Matt has picked up the baton.
Yeah.
And is running on with it. But we'll be there in a tent, won't we?
Yeah, we will. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and it was always just such a great event, wasn't it? Even 1 year it was damp, another year it was rained off completely, wasn't it? Which was maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But the years it did work and we were all there,
Yeah.
oh wow, what a great spectacle. So yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder
so
how Matt will cope with that.
Yeah, Matt, you want to talk about the orchestra and the proms with us one day? We'd love to do that. Let's do a bit more on economy, just so we can feel like we're less loose women and more Andrew Marr. There's a trend, so that house prices, as we know, have hit a 14-year high, says the Telegraph today, 10.2% higher today than they were 12 months ago, and they're putting that down to the drop in stamp duty, which kind of makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People are wanting to buy, but what it's also done is push the house price. It's made buyers want to buy, but because buyers want to buy, it's become a seller's market, and house prices have gone absolutely through the roof. And if you look at the trend, house prices just do this, don't they? So you think all of a sudden we're up here. Can we confidently predict that house prices are going to absolutely crash through the floor in the next 12 months? Which ties in, before you answer that question, and I'm sure you have an answer to it. You look at inflation as well, and there are fresh fears that rising prices could derail the economy's growth post-pandemic. And this is fascinating, or at least I think it is. I'm a bit of a nerd. When you look at where the prices have gone up and down, have a guess on the retail price. Which do you think the sectors are that are suddenly seeing massive growth in percentage terms?
I would say obviously online retail, sustainable energy. Now we're opening up gyms and leisure facilities to get rid of the bulk.
Good answers. All correct answers too.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And it's fascinating. And they're all going up. So yes, retail. I can't find the article now. Must be in here. Retail's gone up. Here it is. Clothing and footwear up by 22%, which has been boosted by people going into shops and the shops reopening, and housing and household services as well boosted. I suppose we've all been at home and now we're going out buying things. Interestingly, the leisure market, recreation and culture, and restaurants and hotels over the last 12 months are down. I suppose that's not actually interesting over 12 months because we haven't been out doing anything. But now it's reopening, we're going to see that surge, aren't we? So all of a sudden, as particularly when VAT goes up in October on recreation, are we now going to see the economy in such a place where no one's got any money and everything's too expensive?
Yeah. Job to know, isn't it? I think we're all, in a funny sort of way, we're all dreading it. I've been very cushioned in my life, and we've been very cushioned as a business because of the government's willingness to look after small businesses. But I do understand that needs to be paid for from somewhere, because you can't just give people millions of pounds and then just go, well, there you go, call it a gift. You kind of got to stay in society, haven't you? And you still need a roof over your head in society terms. So actually, society, our government, does need to say, okay, we need to look at paying that back, boys and girls. And for us to go, okie doke, we're happy with that. I hope we do. And I hope the country doesn't go into, whoa, well, you see, there you go. They flipping told us on the one hand we'd be looked after, and they looked after us. Now they want it back.
Which we know they will, and particularly the broadsheets will do that, and the right-leaning broadsheets will do that. But bringing that back to the SMEs and the businesses that we work with on a daily basis, I guess businesses will now be looking for advice. So they might look at that trend and say, crikey, everything's going to get more expensive. People are going to have less money. How on earth are we need to pull people in to spend money? How on earth are we going to do that? So really, it's time for businesses to start looking and putting that into their bounce back strategy.
Yeah.
Because phase one is the doors are open, we're reopening, brilliant, people are going to pour in. But I don't look at just from the papers today, I don't think that's going to last for very long. Where are we now? May. By Christmas, I think we're going to have seen everybody have their splurge and then going to be tightening their belts again.
Yeah.
So businesses need to now be building their 6-month, 12-month strategies with that in mind, I think.
Yeah. And you know, what I'm really hoping people will do, our clients and pretty well everyone else, is not get caught in this sort of, I don't know, the race to the bottom, and try and make everything cheaper so it's more saleable, so you can sell more of them. And it really works at the end of the afternoon if you're a market holder and you're about to take 300 plums home. At that point, you can discount them, have 20 for £1, have 100 for £1. It's easier than taking them home and chucking them into more jam.
There's only so many plum puddings you can eat, aren't there, really?
Right. But if you're not selling plums, then everything else, hold your nerve, and actually put up a good price value fight. And that price value we talk about again all the time. Price value, it should be this much money because the market says it should. Our customers are happy to pay that much. That is its price.
Yeah.
Around there is a good price for what I do, what I sell.
Absolutely.
And my customer is happy to pay that. So actually, why make it half the price? It's like, the madness of that. Well, it'll make us more attractive. We'll get more customers, but they're customers you don't actually really want,
Exactly.
because
So
they're
why
people
not
that
do
are paying
things?
half what it's worth.
So we're going to keep our plums at 50 pence. I don't know how much a plum costs, but our plum is always going to be 50 pence. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, our plum buying customer is kind of still got the 50p, but is worrying whether they should spend it. So this is where we introduce a value stack, as we like to call it in our game. That now, when they're spending 50p on their plum, we haven't reduced it, but we might add a recipe for plum jam that we're going to give them for free as well. And also on Saturday afternoon, next door to the market, we might have a jam making workshop. And we're going to bring Mrs. Miggins from the WI, who makes an excellent plum jam. And she's actually going to come and do it. So when you buy your plums, Mrs. Miggins will teach you how to make the jam.
Right.
That's not cost us any money.
Yeah.
And actually, that's, if anything, increased the value of our product, because I completely agree with you. And it's something we say to clients all the time. Race to the bottom is the wrong way to do it, because it's short-term win. Of course, it's a short-term win. People, if all of a sudden next door is doing plums for 20p and they're just as nice, we're going to go there very quickly. But you won't last for long.
No, and that's the bit. And a perishable inventory I get. It's a bit like I was talking to another mate this morning, funny enough, about hotel bedrooms, and the challenge of the marketing department, which is again, hotel bedroom sales is another perishable inventory, isn't it? In that by midnight you can no longer sell an empty bedroom in a hotel today, because it's now tomorrow.
Right.
So your opportunity to have sold that room and earned that money has gone. In the same way, when your plum goes brown, your opportunity to earn money from it has gone. On the other hand, when you talk to a butcher, say, he'll say, well, I've got fillet steak in my window on a Monday. If I haven't sold it by Tuesday morning, I'll probably chop it up and turn it into stewing steak.
Yeah.
If I haven't sold it by Tuesday night, I'll probably turn it into strips and then sell it as stir fry steak. If I haven't sold it by, what day did I get to? Wednesday night? If I haven't sold it by Wednesday night, Thursday morning, I'll put it into a pie of our own. So we'll make our own pies. So we'll call it steak and kidney pie. And I can get probably 10 pies out of that.
Yeah.
And then if I haven't done anything with it by, say, Friday morning, then I can either turn it into dog food, or I can turn it into, there'll always be something, won't there? So its value does diminish over the course of a week, but there is no waste. And kind of the bedroom sales thing is just the same. The value, you'll always fill bedrooms in a city. Milton Keynes, how many hotels have we spoken to over the last over? Countless.
Yeah.
And so many hotel clients as well in the past, which was really good. And they all had no trouble selling bedrooms from Sunday night to Thursday night. But Friday, empty hotel because everyone's gone home, go to work, then go home. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday daytime. So that's their quiet period. So they're trying to fill it with weddings and birthdays and all those different things, and hope that the guests come along and take the rooms. But again, if it comes to next weekend and you haven't sold those rooms, that's proper dead money, isn't it? Absolutely. And that's the point at which you need to start doing deals and saying to people, last minute, £5, £10, £20. That's a great time to do it. Not generally.
That's not diminishing the value of your product. You know you're still getting a brilliant room, but you're getting it at a brilliant rate. And actually, that can be a lost leader in marketing, can't it? Because you might have given the room for a £5, and actually you've paid the lady who cleans the rooms cost you £7.50, so you've already lost.
Yeah.
But that person's had such a brilliant experience. You know that's where they're coming next week.
Yeah.
But don't start saying, actually, we can see the market's going to dwindle around some holidays, and we really want some holidays. So right now, our premium suites are going to be £7.50 a night. Book now. Because what are you going to do? You're going to sell them all at £7.50 and run your summer at a loss.
That's the bit. Yeah.
And hotels are an interesting example, because there's almost an honour amongst thieves with hotels, because they all get together, and I love to see it, that hoteliers talk to one another and say, do you know what, that's a busy weekend, where are the and it's not price fixing, I'm being very careful of my words, but it's making sure that everybody understands the value of their product and the value in the market and works together. It's all about partnerships and working together at the end of the day.
But that comes back to our strategy stuff as well, where we were talking yesterday, wasn't it? If our client was a hotel, you would literally, and again, I was talking to my mate this morning about it. You colour in the calendar for the year, and you say, okay, over this period, it's going to be super cool. So August by the seaside, that matters. Easter, that matters. Mothering Sunday, that matters. So all those things have to go in first, don't they? So you've got you'll sell your sweets around Valentine's, you'll sell your lunches around events. Then there's Christmas, then there's New Year, so once you've done that, you've then got an amount of rooms to try and sell for 225 other days. And then the strategy starts, doesn't it? Okay, what's special about a Monday? Why would anyone stay with us on a Sunday? And so on. And that becomes the fun then, doesn't it? Because the aspiration is try and get the rooms full. The strategy is, okay, let's come up with some initiatives that aren't always price. And then off into the plan. How do we do it? And what does that say? And where do we send it?
And I guess that's the question, isn't it, for a marketeer to remember? And the takeaway, price is only one of the 7 or however many RPs there are these days. There's so many other tools in the box. So race this to the bottom. And we started this conversation by talking about how the market's going to change it and whether people's wallets and their spending power is going to dramatically shrink in the next 6 months. Maybe it is, but don't necessarily use price as the only tool in your box, I think is the takeaway there. Speaking of takeaways, we might have to do takeaway lunch because it's coming up to 2:00 and almost the end of our time together. Fun though it has been. Thank you to everybody that's joined us. Big thanks to Matt Cove, who's joined in on the chat, and he said he'd be delighted to join us for a future lunch. Matt, we'll be in touch and we'll hopefully have you on. The only rule is you have to bring your sandwiches and you have to bring some opinions on stuff.
Do that. Grand.
Whilst we've got you, thank you for joining us. You're here on the Proper Marketing Facebook page. Please don't forget to join the Proper Marketing Hub. It's something a bit different that we do at Proper. It's exclusive, it's members only, but it doesn't cost you anything to join, so you might as well. If you scroll up to the top of the page, click on groups, and then click on the Proper Marketing Hub. And join us there. We run all kinds of activity on there. Ran a webinar yesterday, which was fascinating. We were talking about, what were we talking about yesterday? It was a whole
strategy, wasn't it, yesterday?
That's the one. And how your marketing strategy is important and how it's so much more than just one thing. What is a strategy? Actually, it's what props your strategy up and what's it for in the first place. And also there's lots of how-to guides on there too. Learn how to do your own marketing. We're never going to be millionaires, are we? Because we run a marketing agency and we just teach people how to do it themselves. But give us what kind of how-to guides have got on there lately, Paul?
What kind of what? Sorry.
How-to guides on our guide section.
So it's how to understand things like how to understand what's wrong. So you're spending, you're doing marketing, you're paying someone to get marketing, and what's going wrong? How do you work that out? So it literally takes you right back to the beginning and says, what is marketing? What's its point? What's its purpose? What does it do? How to know whether your marketing is doing it or not? What the buzzwords are? What the this strategy, that marketing, all those words. We unscramble all that so that you actually get a really, really simple version of what is actually the stuff we all natter about all day long. And then once you've got to that, you can then start digging in and saying, okay, so you said this happened, but that it hasn't happened because, or I'm spending this, but now I see why I'm going wrong. So it talks about channels, it talks about strategy, how strategy can't live on its own. It has to have things either side of it to be useful. Just no end of it. And then all sorts of discussion and feedback from other people who are running businesses, probably just like you.
And it's all there for you, all completely free, and we'd love to see you there. So scroll up, click on groups, click on the Proper Marketing Hub, and we will see you there with more content next week. For now, we will let you get on with your day. Paul, it was a pleasure as always. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Wasn't it? Happy Thursday. Weekend.
And a happy Thursday. Catch you later.
Okay. Bye.